Right, I've had to take the tanks back out. I've had to access the bolts either side of the tanks. So put some new nylox on the bottom. Just there. But it's probably been a good thing to take the tanks back out because I've had to also put the holes in there for the fuel tank vent line holes. So I've got one added in here, just near the battery grommet, battery cable grommet. And I've added these two holes. So I've dimpled one of them. I use this tool here. That's one piece, and there's the other bit. So they just clamp together. There's a cutter as well. So that'll cut the hole and also dimple it. So I got dimpled. The hole was a 19mm hole, and then it gets dimpled out. And immediately behind it is just another hole there, which I need to get a grommet for the fuel tank vent line. And I've also installed a grommet there for the vent line. And equally so on this side, we've got the vent line there with a grommet just added, and the grommet there for the battery cable. Battery cable, I've just tidied it up. We'll install a terminal for that. I'm thinking I'm just going to tin this with a bit of solder. But at the moment I'm just working on the damper spring for the hydroelastic, and I'll just show you something. So I've pulled it off. Here's the little felt washers and then the normal washer. But this, it's just as well I had a good look at this because have a look here. This spring was held on by a nail. So I mean it was on the pin, but then instead of using a split pin, I'm just using this bent nail. So here it is here. So yeah, that will definitely be coming out. Got some new split pins, so we'll fit them onto that and tidy that up. And then we'll be working on the brake lines fairly soon because we want to install a handbrake before we start installing the carpet. I went and replaced these nylox under here and here, tidied that up, put another one over there as well, and tidied up a couple of the nuts. So previously we did a vapor blast on these brake lines for the rears. We applied a bit of rust converter on it, and then I've given them a buff on the polishing wheel just to give them a good clean. And they've came out really good considering that they were heavily rusted. So they're good to go. All of the fittings are nice and loose, so they're going to turn nicely on there. So I just use just a bit of DPL. This is for an outboard, but it's pretty good as well for automotive. So I've got that in there. Try to loosen this up. So this junction, that's obviously not the right colour. They've just painted it in a Golmet paint, but you know, I'm not going to go and try and repaint it the marquee colour. I'll just leave it as is. Put a bit of rust converter on here as well to prevent any further corrosion. And then we'll fit this brake line over to the driver's side now.
Looking ahead, partly cloudy tomorrow and Monday, mostly sunny on Tuesday. Right now in the city, it's 17 degrees, the same in Canberra.
And while we're at it, we'll just check this one. Yep, it's firm. Okay, we've loosely installed the handbrake cable for the right hand side, and it goes around here. You're meant to bend these in. I'll get that done a bit later. And it goes up there along the tunnel, and then through into the cabin. That's where the SU pump's ventilation tube connects to, and this goes through the bulkhead underneath the seat into the cabin. So that's a unique thing on the GTs. None of the others had it. Of course, the Cooper S's had it as well. I just put a socket underneath there to prop it up. You can see in there, it sets up a bit. So carefully put the lock ring on top, like that. And then I'll just use a screwdriver to try to lever this down again. Got it. Right, as you can see there, it's locked in. Just pass it up into the car now. Using the original gasket material for the inside of the car, it's like a rubbery compound on a gasket material, kind of flexes. But for the underside of the car, you need a matching pair on the underside. So I've got these new rubber ones. It's different material. That's the original stuff. This one's damaged. So we'll put the rubber ones on the underside. They just combine with these metal parts. But I'm just going to get someone to hold the screws from the top, and I'll put the nuts and washers on the underside, and we'll get them clamped down. And for those smarter than me, you might have realised I assembled the whole brake spring setup all incorrectly. So I'll fix that now. But it goes washer, spring, washer, and repeat the other side. Washer, spring, washer. Then the brake handbrake. So it's one-handed, but there's the brake. Then the nut. So I hope you enjoyed that video this time round of the rear subframe where we installed the brake lines and the handbrake. I left most components largely untouched, except I did give this a coat of paint, and I actually took the tanks out yet again and I replaced the bolts in addition to the new nylock nuts under here. I didn't bother repainting this. I don't know if that's the original colour for the rear drum, being this brown. But I'm just going to leave it, and I've given this a grease as well from the grease nipple. Put a new nylock on there as well, and the same deal on the driver's side. We've greased up the arm, put a new nylock on here as well, replaced the bolts over on this side as well. We did adjust the brakes. The brake is off at the moment, but the brake cable has been adjusted for the right tension, so it's got about 2 clicks before this locks up. We'll give it a quick go. And that's locked. Got the damper on as well, and that's about it. We'll put the fuel pump in a bit later. There's a few more parts I need to get for that. But for now, this will wrap up the subframe.